So if you log into the platform, you basically will have an overview of the different sites that you have. And so if you choose a thermography site, so one of the sites in your portfolio, you'll be able to see all of the different inspections you've done. So here you can see we've done multiple inspections. So let me open the last one. You can click view more recent, or you can just click on the last one. And it opens up this overview of your asset or your plant. And then basically you can turn on and off different layers, just like in Photoshop. And you can see that the basic one, the base layer is Google Earth. And then we can turn on and off different layers. So the first one I turn on is the photos. So these are the photos taken by the drone while it's flying over. And these are thermal radiometric photos. So you can play with the temperatures and see different things appearing. And so all of these photos are then combined into what we call an orthomosaic. So this is a visual orthomosaic. So it's based on the RGB, the visual photos. And you can already see, for example, here that we have a cable duct that is open. So this is already an issue. So you can create annotations for issues. You can say open tray, for example. But on top of that, we also created a thermal orthomosaic. So basically the thermal orthomosaic is the same as the visual one, except it's in the thermal space. And you can see we can start seeing some hotspots and issues, and we can actually narrow down on temperature to go and specifically visualize certain temperatures or to increase contrast. And on top of being able to see all anomalies, we also detect them for you. So I can turn on the thermal anomalies layer, and then you'll start seeing that we've detected all of these different issues for you on your plants. And then you can click on issues and get a higher level understanding. So we've got a lot of information on different anomalies. And when you zoom in, you can see, for example, this one is probably a multi-hotspot. Indeed, here, multi-hotspot, because we can see multiple hotspots. It's physical internal, because if I turn off the transparency, you can see in the visual space, we don't see any indications of what is causing the issue. In certain cases, we can find vegetation, shadowing, things like that. We can also see it's a serious issue because according to the IEC, there's different categories. So we're using the IEC certified categorization. We can see there is a loss of about 28% on the panel. Of course, there's a loss on more than just the panel because the inverter is going to misoptimize, assuming that all panels are functioning properly. But this is really hard for us to estimate. So we are limiting ourselves to the panel loss. However, this is something we're working on this year, also on being able to add inverter losses, as we are mapping also string lengths and things like that into a new feature which is coming later this year, basically. We also have information on basically what serial number there is, so you can capture serial numbers using your smartphone on site and scan that with the Bluetooth barcode scanner or your photo camera. We've got information on history. As I showed earlier on, we also did an inspection in 2019, so we can see it's a recurring anomaly. We have all the temperature information of the panel, so the minimum and the maximum information, the hottest point, which is the hotspot, and the distance between both. So the 10 degrees tells us more about how much hotter the hotspot is and how severe this problem is. We also have something called normalized delta temperature. So this is very important. It's actually taking into account the weather information. So weather information is very important to take into account, because if you would send this panel to the lab, for example, to TUV or something to go and flash test it for you in a lab, they would be using exactly 1000 watts per square meter, 15 degrees, because you want to be able to compare different tests, of course. When we're flying with the drone, we cannot control the weather. So we have to do with the range that we have. And so every photo taken by Sitemark has a timestamp. And we also have the weather information from satellites or pyranometers on site if you give us access. And we can then link the actual weather at when the photo was taken and normalize the information back to 1000. So if you would send this panel to a lab, they would tell you that the hotspot is 12.8 degrees warmer than the rest of the panel. So this is the normalized result, allowing you to compare between different sites or over time in an objective way. Of course, you've got location data, things like that. We also know which panel, brand, location, table number, all these things. We also have an overview of basically what the panel looks like in visual and thermal. We can even zoom in and see it in large, but you can also see it right here. We also have the history, so we can see it was already an issue in 2019, comments, files. And for example, in terms of history, you can also visually compare. So for example, we can say here we compare 2020, where we have 2 hotspots, with 2019, where it was a single hotspot. It's very light, so sometimes, I mean, this platform is quite sensitive, so we find small hotspots. But here you can clearly see how one hotspot has evolved into becoming a more important problem. And that's related on the anomalies. So of course, there's many types of anomalies. So here, for example, we have what we call a single bypass. So 1/3 of the panel is bypassed by the bypass diode. And we have tons of information on these anomalies, and you can actually, you can actually access it here. If you click on anomaly type, we've got articles and articles about the different types of anomalies. We can also provide support and train your team on how to read the anomalies. So we have certified thermographers that can help explain all of this, what's causing it, what you can do to remediate it, how you can fix it, how you should prioritize your repair plan, things like that. Of course, we find a lot of anomalies on this site. This is just a 1 megawatt site, so it's a small demo, and we already found 400 issues. So the question is what to do now. Well, we recommend to use to first have an idea, especially in the chart mode, of what the losses are linked to this. So, for example, for all these anomalies, for these 400 anomalies spread over these inverters, you can see a loss of about 3,500. Well, it's in USD because the last demo we did is in dollars, but you can change that in the site options very easily here. If you go here, we can say euro. Here we go. And if I now go back, sorry for that, then you'll see it's in euros. So you have to put in the feed-in tariff as a setting. And then you can see all of the losses. You can download them in Excel. You can see also the historical losses. So this is very interesting if you're going to start doing multiple inspections. And we talked about doing one at commissioning, but one also when we do handover from EPC to O&M actually. But also the yearly inspections that we recommend doing. You can see the evolution of problems. You can see how many of them recur, new ones. You can see also what type of problems you're having. For example, we have a string issue on inverter 2. So how come we have string issues even though we have a great monitoring system that should alarm us when there is a string coming down? By the way, this is not a surprise to me because 2 out of 3 sites we inspect have string issues. So I'm always questioning how effective the monitoring systems are at really targeting these type of issues. But we can also see, for example, temperatures, or for example, this one is an interesting one, causes, which shows us what's causing the issues. So we can see here on inverter 7 and 8, we've got a lot of shadowing issues. So you might want to filter, so we can have advanced filters. We can say, for example, everything that's caused by shadowing, and then you click apply, and then it's going to recalculate. So I can see we're losing 650 a year by shadowing issues. And if I look on the map and I move the tasks here, I can see exactly what is causing them. So it seems a lot of them are in this line. And so the question is why. I'm going to turn off design files. And so you can see these little lines. And if I turn on the anomalies, we can actually see better. If I play with the transparency here, we can even see that it's the shadow of this power line on these panels creating this these shadows. So this is an issue that you might want to solve. So then what you do is you can actually very easily take bulk actions and say, I want to edit properties. I want to edit anomalies. And then you say, I want to select those. So you can actually multi-select very easily and say, okay, for these panels, we don't want anything to be done. So we say, for example, status is don't do anything. So then in that case, I'm not going to save it because it's going to delete them out of the demo. Well, it's going to make them appear less strong. But this is a very nice way to be able to remove things like shadowing issues that you don't want to look at or that shouldn't be in the final report. If I now clear the filters, you might say, yeah, there's still a lot of anomalies, even though we would have removed these ones. How do I prioritize? Well, again, with filters, we can say, hey, I want to be focusing on everything that, for example, is, let's say, not caused by shadowing. So we would say is caused by everything except shadowing. And what can we say? Maybe a loss. Let's say the loss needs to be greater than 25% or something like that. And now it's going to filter. You see, suddenly we have only 39 anomalies. So it's really filtered on anomalies that are not caused by shadowing and are causing the highest amount of loss. And then we can say, hey, we want to create tasks. First, I'm going to have to remove actually the old tasks. So select all tasks, delete, because we already created tasks for a previous demo. But here we can say, I can turn on tasks, but we can say create tasks. I select all of the panels, the 39 panels, create tasks, create. And it will now create tasks on all of the panels that we have chosen. So that means that technicians have to go there and fix it on all these panels. Even though I remove the filter, I can still see all of the anomalies, but it really shows all of the ones where there is a task, which is the ones you should be focusing on. And now technician, I mean, you can go and you can click on this and you can say, okay, I've worked on this, and you can say status is now resolved for this task. And then you can work like that. Or you can say, for example, we've replaced the string. So bulk action, edit properties, all of these punch lists. Up, here we go. Yes, it should work like that. Strange. Well, you should be able to select all of them and put them to resolved. For example, here I can put one in progress like this. So you get the idea. You can work on different tasks and work through different work orders. And then what's interesting is basically we have a field app. So if I go to demo field, you can see it's going to be hard to show it in this recording because basically I cannot change the screen size because it's a recording, but we have an app for technicians where they can then work and resolve tickets from the comfort of their smartphone, but you can also export reports. We have schematic reports specifically designed for technicians to work through the different issues. And the idea is that you can then follow up in tasks how these issues are progressing, put comments, you can look at the files they've uploaded if they have photos or anything like that that they have added. I'm thinking, what have I missed? You also have a portfolio view where you can then on a portfolio see exactly on all of your different sites which sites are losing the most amount of energy, what are the main things you should be worried about, things like that. In general, I think this is already a quick brief demo. Of course, there's many more things that I'd like to show you, and you can also do design files, or you can manage components, and you can link components to basically import your PV case files, which I demoed. I didn't demo it, but I quickly briefly explained it to your colleagues. But when you import your PV case files, we can have a relationship between the panel, the inverter. We can know exactly which table it is in and stuff. So all the numbering is automatically managed in a smart way. We can manage design files, schedules. So there's a lot of other things that I'd love to talk to you about, but maybe we can talk about it in the next call. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want to get an idea of what the price is, it's often the next question. It would be very nice if you could send us kind of maybe an Excel list of all of the sites you have in your portfolio or will be commissioned, and then maybe a column for like a date for when they will be commissioned and a column of when they will be handed over to EPC. So we know exactly when you will be doing what type of activity. And then eventually also the megawatt size of every site and the location. Once we have that, then we can really work on a comprehensive quote or a proposal, detailed proposal for you. So you have an idea of what it's all going to cost. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out. I would love to organize another call and go in depth, answer any questions you might have, and we look forward to helping you. And I'm very happy to see that I've been able to do the demo in less than 15 minutes, 14 minutes, 44. I look forward to talking soon. Bye.